Today we will be exploring two main questions under the banner of trauma. Firstly, when should the cameras stop shooting? And how can a journalist respect the subject of a report but still ensure the full picture is delivered to the audience? One of the main reasons why journalism is so important is to give the general public an idea of what is going on around the world. But how can we do that without crossing the line? On a day-to-day basis, the general public is exposed to a lot of different types of media, including photos and articles. Sometimes some of the materials published can be so shocking they leave a psychological mark with the reader. An example of this is the falling man shot on the day of September 11th. The photo was criticized for being too traumatic for the audience and disrespectful for the man falling, and was suppressed for 2 years. So should Richard Drew have stopped the cameras rolling at this point? His answer is a clear no. He defends this image and many other images of this type by taking the idea that they may be hard to look at, but they did happen, and it is part of a journalist's job to deliver such images to give a clear picture of what really happened. So that leaves us with the question of, when do we have to stop the cameras? The following footage was released on Channel 9 as part of a live news feed from the New Zealand Christchurch earthquakes in 2011, taken from Media Watch. That footage is a clear example of when the cameras should have stopped rolling, or at least quickly moved away. The victim clearly did not want to be part of this news report and did not want to be depicted in this way. So how can a journalist be wary of these ethical and legal considerations but ensure they still deliver the news? Well, to begin with, honesty is one very important key. Journalists need to keep in mind that they are dealing with people who have just gone through a traumatic experience. They need to ensure that communication channels are open, and they need to deliver a clear idea of how the image will be used. In the case of images like the falling man, the photographer can be honest with the family of the man at least. In the NPR handbook, honesty for journalists is emphasized to be very important. It is explained that journalism should be done in plain sight, and honesty must not be compromised. The second tip is to be sensitive. Sometimes, a journalist can get carried away with trying to deliver a news story that we forget that we are dealing with real humans. The people we are talking about in our reports are all different types of people, from different backgrounds and cultures. A journalist should educate themselves about cultural sensitivities and religious sensitivities, and follow the golden rule found in the article covering trauma, suggestions for a more collaborative approach, which is to treat the interview as one would a family member or friend and show compassion. Finally, it is important to stop the cameras when the subject of the interview or report does not wish to be part of it. Although consent at disaster scenes can be difficult, especially during a live feed, it is essential to avoid shooting anyone who has clearly shown they do not wish to be the subject of the lens. If a journalist follows these guidelines, it will be easier to avoid the traumatic experience of the audience as well as the victims of the disaster itself. I hope you enjoyed this explainer and you find it helpful for the future as upcoming journalists.